Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everybody, it's Will from GSPN Daily Wolves, and today I'm joined by Chris. Chris, hello.
Hello everyone. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. I'm living the dream so much I can't talk properly.
Yeah, and Nathan. Nathan's also joining us. Nathan, how are we?
I'm very well, thanks, Will. Hello, everyone. I hope we're keeping well. Halfway through the week already. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking of time flying, on a personal level, feels like it's been forever, guys. I can't remember the last time I was able to hop on with you guys, and you know what? I nearly said complain about Wolves, but no, we've got over that. We've got over that.
Yeah, we missed you, Will. Sorry, I almost forgot your name when I first saw you on the call, but we've got you again. It's okay.
No, yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. But yeah, so today, obviously, wildcard Wednesday, but we'll also be taking a look at our game later tonight, which will be against Newcastle. But before we get to that, Vitor Pereira has done his pre-match press conference, and Chris, I believe you've been tuned in and you have some news for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that many out there. How many people am I? I'm not the only one that watches all the press conferences, right? Because I watch pretty much all of them as much as I can. Will's pulling a surprise face on me, but anyway, I haven't got through the whole thing yet because of life. But the most important thing we really wanted to find out was about injury updates, and it was one of the first things they discussed. Semedo apparently will be back in the squad for the game, as will Kouni. Now, because obviously, yes, he had the ban, but he has been carrying an injury as well, coinciding with that. We saw him come off early in his last game. So he did say, however, obviously they'd have to manage minutes, and they're coming back from an injury might not potentially, do the full game. They've got to be careful. But having Semedo and Kouni back in, that's a big plus.
Can I add to that, if you'll allow me? Because I've also read, I didn't watch the press conference unlike you, so I suppose this is somewhat less sort of verified.
Cheating.
But I've seen that, I just keep up with it on Twitter, The
best place for news.
But I've seen that Lamina and Craig Dawson are also confirmed to be in the squad and available to travel up to Newcastle, which, I suppose having a centre half back will certainly help. And I just wanted to go off on a little tangent here, because I've not recorded with you guys since the whole sort of Lamina situation has come about, and I've got a soft spot for him, but I don't like it. I just feel really sort of, the fact that he's seems to be going, or at least he's been given that ultimatum.
I was going to say whether his recovery from injury or illness is coincided with also, I don't know if that's talks breaking down, or like it all seemed a little bit fishy when they started saying, he had a little bit of an illness, and he was still posting like the pre-match like pictures that the players have on their stories and stuff. He was still posting those, and then shortly afterwards it was, he's got a bit of illness or whatever. And obviously we want to believe him, and like you, Will, I do have a bit of a soft spot for him. But ever since he's started throwing hands at Jared Bowen, it's all started to slip and slide downhill, hasn't it?
Yeah, I just think this season it's not been my Mario, and I want my Mario back, because it's just such a completely different player in terms of attitude and actual form as well this season. And I don't know what you put that down to, but nevertheless, he's travelling with the squad up north today. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that was one of the other names I would have mentioned. But like you say, I think less. What's the word I'm looking for? Less urgent than the likes of Semedo and Kouni, because I think he'll be on the regardless of injury, regardless of sickness, whatever.
Yeah,
I think we've discussed the midfield pairing recently a lot, and I think he'd be back on the bench regardless of his fitness state right now. Not just with everything that's going on, just given the way Pereira seems to pick that holding too. I think he's got to earn that spot.
Yeah, Yeah, no, 100%, and rightly so, really. But yeah, obviously, as we mentioned, today's our wildcard episode, and just before we get on with it, I want to throw another curveball at you two and the listeners. Just another thing I want to discuss, which is the fact that our Arsenal game coming up at home has gone to general sale again. So that's another game now, and you just know that you rock up to Molineux or what have you. There's going to be loads of empty seats, despite the fact that it's Arsenal. All those seats are going to be filled with Arsenal fans, and it's just something that's just annoyed me. It's just really annoyed me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was, we all know about the season ticket price hikes and the general admission prices anyway going up in the summer. You couple that with the form, for despite the improvement in the last couple of weeks, with the form the first half of the season, and it is just a killing combination on attendance. So and even when we're playing well, there's a lot of people priced out of seats. It's a tough time. I mean, it's a tough time just to live in anywhere in the world, not just the UK, in terms of the cost of living. So I mean, not to bring the podcast down, but it's not surprising, and but that's why we all had the massive complaints, right, where everyone was causing such a fuss in the summer. I've met people this season myself who didn't renew their season tickets because they physically couldn't afford to do so, because it has been pushed up so high. And then you look at the level of football we've been getting for that price, and it's just it's a bad combination. So not to put a dampener on things, but it's frustrating.
No, and I did want to clarify, I wasn't blaming anyone for not going. I certainly wasn't blaming the fans. The only person I was blaming was, of course, Mr. Shi. I'm sure he's listening in. I'm sure he's listening to this. He's going to get it sorted.
Don't forget that.
He's a big fan. He's a big fan of all the slaughtering we've done over the past few months.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget that.
I told you about the time I met him in... Sorry, Chris.
I was going to say, let's not forget that freeze he's promised us for next season, right? Because that's super important.
Well, I should think so as well. But I was just about to say, I did say about when I met him in the toilets the once. I assume I told you that. I met him in the bogs the once, in New Street Station in Birmingham.
Nathan and I both frowned. For anyone listening, was like, "What? No, you definitely haven't told us this story."
I can't believe
Will just has a story for meeting pretty much everyone related with the Wolves, and it's always a little bit left field. But you've managed to trump it this time.
I know which one you're getting at there, Nathan. I'll come to that after if you want. But no, I met him in the toilets. I think this was in the Bruno Lage era, and I was stood at the urinal, and I was looking. I wasn't looking. But I was looking. Do you know what I mean, though? Sort of at the corner of my eye, I was like, that's Jeff Shi. It is him. But obviously, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't feel too comfortable just stood there watching him wee.
Had you had any beers before this, by any chance? Is there the off chance that it just happened to be maybe another person who resembled Jeff Shi?
No. It was definitely Jeff Shi, and I do have photographic evidence to prove it.
Oh no!
In the toilet while still happening. No. Jeff, just hold still, would you? Just hold still.
Can I get a selfie, mate? Any chance for a selfie?
This is going back to that story about Nunes at Manchester City. You're the next one that's going to have their phone taken off them in the toilet.
It was outside at this point. I'd washed my hands, and I saw him. We sort of, we timed it well. And we were walking out together. I went, Jeff. And he didn't say anything to me. He said hello, but he looked confused / scared / sort of weirded out.
Was this after you've taken a picture of him in the toilet then?
This was sort of during. No, and I just said, Jeff, is it you? When he sort of initially looks at me, he's like, yeah. And this was I think, just at the start of the Bruno Lage era. So, we had no reason to complain as such at this point. I suppose it was sort of a down end to the last Nuno season. But at that point, overall things were looking, good for us and still okay. And I sort of, I think I might have thanked him for getting us promoted or something. I can't remember. But point is, I shook his hand, and his hand was so sort of limp and clammy and weak.
Had he washed his hands, or did he rush out trying to escape you, and then you ran after him?
I don't. Either way, his palm was sort of just limp, and ever since then, it should have been a sign to me of things to come, because that's not a man who's leading anyone, let alone a whole football club.
This is what we came here for today.
Sorry,
this is it.
I've been gone
the
a while.
Insider knowledge.
Look, Nathan, I'll leave the Gibbs White and Ann Summers story for my next episode then.
What I will say, just to try and top that even further, as we are on Wildcard Wednesday, we might as well we've heard toilet stories. I'm just going to take that to I'm going to take this Wildcard Wednesday to a whole other level. So in the news today, breaking news, people, Lazio. So we're not talking UK football here. Lazio.
Yes, yeah.
Lazio Falconer sacked for sharing explicit photos of prosthetic penis. This is the breaking headline on BBC Sports News. Italian club Lazio have sacked a man responsible for handling the club's eagle mascot after he shared videos online of his own prosthetic penis. Falconer Juan Bernabe has handled the eagle, named Olympia, since the 2010-11 season and flies the bird over the Serie A club Stadio Olimpico before matches. However, Lazio, whose crest is emblazoned with an eagle, have parted ways with Bernabe after he shared images and videos online of his penis on his social media after undergoing implant surgery. I mean, basically, this is a man who's very proud to have had his implant surgery and wants to show it off to the world.
Right, I've got a few questions, Chris.
Go on.
Which I'm not sure you'll have the answers to, but
I can make some up. It's fine. I'm very good at this.
When you say implant surgery, was that purely cosmetic, do we know, or were there health reasons behind this?
So, whilst it isn't, like you said, it's not specific to that, he does say Bernabe defended his decision to publish the videos, telling radio station Radio 24 he was trying to bring awareness to the operation and shared it on his private social media, adding that nudity is normal. I grew up in an open-minded naturist family. So take of that what you will. But so Lazio decided that was the end of the line for the eagle.
Look, I just want to say I feel sorry for anyone who stumbled across the sports and entertainment section on the podcasts on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and have just thought, I want to hear about the Wolves at the minute and find out how they're getting on. Little wildcard episode. It sounds like a bit of fun to listen to on the way into work. And interesting topics. I guess.
Breaking sports news. I'm sorry, but this is breaking sports news.
We're at the cutting edge of it, we are.
Yeah, lastly, the Serie A club added they were aware of the shared pain that the loss of the eagle will cause to fans for the upcoming home matches.
Wait, they get rid of the eagle as well?
Because it's not their eagle, it's his eagle. So they've parted company with him, therefore the eagle goes with him.
It'll be a pigeon now.
Just wait. So here we go. Shared pain that the loss of the eagle will cause to fans for upcoming home matches, but added it was impossible to associate our historical symbol with such an individual. So they have parted ways with the eagle.
I don't think he should have been sacked.
The eagle or the guy?
You know what? I'm going to say the guy. Because...
bold.
I just think, how much of a... Unless he is, genuinely a bit of a cult hero, cult icon in that world, because I would imagine that he could just be any sort of bloke who, people come to see the eagle, not him. You know what I mean?
True. Lastly, before we get onto the Wolves news, just to caveat that, if anyone out there wants to look up the article, I thoroughly recommend you do, if only because the picture that the BBC Sport website have chosen to put alongside the article, considering the nature of the topic, is a man looking like he clearly loves his eagle, because he's there with his nose to nose on the beak, looking all affectionate. When I don't know, it just adds an extra element.
Guys, Chris is just.
When you first started telling the story, Chris, I thought you were saying he was dressed up as an eagle. I didn't realise it was an actual eagle.
Yeah, no, an actual eagle.
That's
why I said that he's a falconer. He flies the eagle. It's in the words falconer.
Right.
Juan Bernabe.
Fair enough. I need to do my research on vocab here.
Keep up, Nathan. Goodness.
I even said it flies over the stadium. Not a man in a suit.
Well, metaphorical way, he really.
probably weigh him down if you tried that now. Anyway, I'm just going to move on.
I'm done.
So here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
If this is my final podcast appearance, it's been a great ride, everyone. Just going to say that. Thank you very much.
That's what the Falconer said. Anyway, we'll move on, shall we? We'll move on because I feel like we are really pushing the limits of the term wildcard episode. But yeah, so that being said, for today's episode, we've all got our thinking caps on because I saw a tweet earlier that I thought would be good for us to run with as the theme of this podcast, which is that with the season halfway through, reply with following players from your club only, and then gives a list of players or types of players that you've got to decide on who is who. So the list goes the best player, worst player, best signing, worst signing, most improved player, most underwhelming player, and the biggest surprise. So we are, we've put our sort of thinking caps on, put our heads together, and I assume, guys, we've all got our sort of, or at least vague ideas of who is going to be who. And I'll start off on a nice and easy one. Which would be the best player. So who do you think has been the best player for Wolves this season? Nathan, I'll go to you first.
Yes. To be honest, this is the easiest one, right?
Yeah.
Surely. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's Kouni for best player.
Yes.
It was a toss-up between him and Tom King in my head, but I think Kouni just edges it, to be fair. But yeah, easy one.
Yeah, Chris, I take it you agree?
Yeah, I almost tried to play like that game, just picking. It almost feels like a game where you should cross him off the list and pick the next one, if that makes sense, because it's so obvious. But yeah, I think despite the fact there has been a couple of games where he's annoyed me, overall he's been fantastic for us. The stats don't lie. So yeah it's got to be Kouni.
Well, I agree with obviously both of you. As Nathan said, for me it was a toss-up between him and Dan Bentley, but and that leads us nicely on to what I think. I don't know if this is the easiest one. This is easiest for me, which is the worst player. Obviously, we want to support the lads, but for me, if I ever see John Rickner Bellegarde in a Wolves top again, I'm going to go insane. He's very close second, but he's the one I've gone with because it just really frustrates me. I don't know if it's his fault or not, but it's just not working out.
See, the difficulty with this one is, do you go for players that have... Is it the worst player out of those that have played a lot? Or is it the worst player overall, even though they may have played only a handful of games? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because
Nathan, it's a wild card.
Look, I would throw my hat in for Sarabia.
Oh, Chris isn't happy.
I think his effect on games this season has been nil.
That's true.
Compared to Bellegarde. Like, if we look at stats, I would go, Bellegarde still would beat him, which is saying something.
Oh, yeah, but I just think that's purely because he's played more. I'm sort of Bellegarde just... At least Sarabia, can produce a class through ball or, a little moment. I'm not saying that he has, Nathan.
Yeah.
But Bellegarde scored a goal against Forest, which is the only thing I think he's ever done in his footballing career by the looks of things.
He got that and the cross for one of Strand Larsen's goals. That's about it.
Oh, he put a ball in the box.
And I'm just saying, I'm being statistically, I love Sarabia, so I'm here defending both. I do I get why you asked, Nathan, about the caveats on the rules, because I feel like Sarabia has been injured for a lot of this season so far, actually, and got very little time under Gary O'Neill. And I've been meaning to say in the pods coming, just as an aside to this, I'm actually curious now he's fit again, if with whatever time he's got left with us, how and when Vitor decides to use him, because he's really that coming on against Bristol City, was that his first appearance under Vitor, or did he come on against Nottingham Forest? I'm trying to remember.
I think he came on. Him and Lamina came on against Forest, and I'll be honest, I might as well have got my boots and gone on as well.
But both of them have been quite late appearances, haven't they? I know the City one was.
Yeah.
And he's literally been recovering from an injury that's kept him out for the past 2-3 months. So I'm just curious. I'm taking us away from the thing, but I am very curious to see if he's given any use more than Gary O'Neill used him in terms of Vitor.
With that being said, Chris, I'm going to push you for an answer here, because I know you are sort of, I'd say you're probably not just the most optimistic, but the kindest to our players out of the three of us. Maybe that's wrong. So I apologise, Nathan.
I think that's a fair statement.
But yeah, so I'm interested to see who you would say has been the worst so far.
Man, there is, like Nathan said, there's different ways to look at it as well, and also just on and off the pitch, like as you know, in terms of the whole everything they bring. I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there who are probably screaming Hwang Hee-chan right now.
Yes,
I get that.
I was going to say.
I'm pretty sure we haven't heard Will's yet, but maybe that's going to be it. And there's a part of me that's tempted to say Sam Johnston, just because like I don't think he's filled me with any great joy. But that is me being mean. However, I'm going to, again, throwing fuel on the fire for worst player this season so far. I'm going to say Lamina. I'm going to say Mario Lamina.
Name out of your mouth. No, I can understand it.
The first half of this season, and think back to his performances.
I mean, his performance against Forest when he came on, was he just looked completely not arsed. And that's why I feel disappointed. I feel really disappointed because you're better than that, Mario. Do you know what I mean? But he hasn't been. So I do get your point, Chris.
And before I shift to Nathan on that, it's everything. Like I said, the emotion, the tears, the fighting, the pushing, like everything. And then no, hang on, hear me out. But then he's given away sloppy passes all season. Like put ourselves in jeopardy in the back, just constantly. He, like you said, he's not the Mario. He's not the Mario that he was, and I want that guy back.
Sorry, Nathan, just to jump in again before you. To be honest, Chris, I think he sort of lasted a lot longer than I would have done in terms of not, squaring up to Sean Derry or sort of telling Totti to piss off or whatever. Can I say that on the podcast? I've said it now, so we're going to keep rolling.
Today's a wild card. Go with it. Yes, Nathan, you've been waiting.
Apologies, guys, but yeah, Nathan, sorry.
I think when look, I love Mario Lamina, and I do think at his best, he's been fantastic in a Wolves shirt. Absolutely. And this season, he has been below par. I do think he's still shown moments of quality. Maybe that's me having a soft spot and focusing in on those. But I would agree that anyone who goes trying to fight other players once the final whistle's gone and is the captain, just what being a captain of Wolves represents, I think you could argue that alone would put him up for worst player. However, if we go along that narrative, then we've also got someone who's nicked someone's goggles off their head, literally, as they're having a chat. That's our mate Kouni, who's gone and ripped someone's glasses off.
Yes.
Also got Ryan Aït-Nouri, who's gone swinging for people. So, if we go down that road, we probably bring other players into it. You definitely aren't our worst players on the pitch.
True, but then you counter that with, you mentioned stats previously. Cunha's already got how many goals? And
I agree on the pitch. I agree.
And Aït-Nouri's 4 goals now, and
Yeah,
I'm going to go out on a whim and say that I kind of liked it that he just started having a go at people. You got to have a bit of edge. You've got to have a bit of edge. Whether you're captain or not, I like it. I'm not saying it's good.
That's not edge, it was a tantrum. Let's get that straight.
Look, you got to do something. You got to do something, and it was too late to do anything on the pitch. Anyway, we're gonna tweak those answers slightly by narrowing down the options. So I'm going to ask for your best signing. Who you think's been the best signing this year? I've got one in my head. To me, it's between two players. I don't know if you guys want me to go first, or if you've got these already. Go on then. I'll lead the way. And for me, it will be a young Rodrigo Gomez.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's although he's not had the minutes as such, I've really been impressed with him. And more so, I mean, Chris, you spoke about the attitude for the worst player. I really like his attitude as a new player, as a young kid coming into the league, and the signs are all there. They're all positive, and I really hope he can continue to kick on with us and develop over the next season or two. Because I just like the look of him.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. I've got more thoughts to expand on that, but Nathan, have you got yours?
Best signing for me. It's so clear. It might be because I also play this position on the pitch, but Andre, I think, is absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he's mustard.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him drop an absolute stinker yet, and considering the games he's been involved in, that's outstanding in itself. You hardly see him misplace a pass. He seems to always be there recovering when other people have slipped up, and just as Brazilian international. His standards are so high. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but Gary didn't like him because he can't speak English. Just put that out there.
Yeah, it's kind of true. I think, what's interesting, if we'd had this question, like just 3 weeks ago, then Rodrigo Gomez that Will chose would probably not be in the discussion. Because under Gary O'Neill's reign, we were told that he was not for now, is not ready, not Premier League ready, blah, blah, all this kind of stuff. And it's only in the literally this Christmas season under Vitor that he's had chances to show what he can do on both wings, both in defense and attack. So I think that's just kind of crazy that he's in this category when it shows how much has changed in such a short space of time.
Can I just give an honourable mention, or is Rodrigo not your pick?
Rodrigo is in my top 2, but I haven't announced which.
Sorry, I won't steal the thunder that I think's about to be coming.
Prior to that, for me, whilst again Andre is great, but at that point had only not actually played that many games because he'd again been in and out of the squad under O'Neill. I think the clear option would have been Strand Larsen. I know he's got. Yeah. I feel like he's getting a load of abuse online at the moment when it's really not worth it. Like, I don't understand what people are calling him all sorts of things, that he's not a good striker, that we need more, like, it's good to have backup, but people are saying it like we just need someone else instead of him altogether. I think he's fantastic.
I think he's weird. I think he's good. I don't think he's bad, but I just think there's sometimes the ball goes up to him and you expect a bit more, but then the goals don't lie. And I do agree with you in terms of, look, if he's a number 9 and he gets around double digits in terms of goals, which I think he will come the end of the season.
He's already on 7.
Yeah, I don't see how you can really complain with that.
No. And can we just say, you think he's weird? Did you hear your toilet story?
Yeah,
I was going to say, did you meet him somewhere as well?
No, not yet. No, just in terms of, I just think he's a bit, because he score you goals, but then it will go up to him sometimes and he can't keep a hold of it, and then he will the next time. He'll pin his man and chest. Do you know what I mean? I suppose that's just a slight bit of inconsistency, but nowhere near enough for people to be on his back like you said they are.
You see, the thing is with Strand Larsen that I think is we've watched so many different strikers come to the Wolves over the years that have no clue where the back of the net is, but also just general open play and the way the team plays. Strand Larsen, and showed it again against Bristol City last weekend, his overall understanding of the team and where people are and bringing other players into the game is brilliant. And I think it was our second goal
Yep, I was going to
where
mention
just the 1-2 with João Gomez in the midfield, I think it was. That's just brilliant hold-up play, and he shows that regularly. I do agree with you, Will, where there are times where you think, that could stick a bit more, or he could do a bit better with that chance. But really, overall, we see him be a threat more often than not. Yeah. And I think that's all you want out of your number 9, especially when you're a team struggling. He's always in those areas.
Well, that's exactly it. As a striker, stats don't lie in terms of goals. And like I said, as long as he scores us goals, I really couldn't care less about the rest of it. That's all that matters for us.
But I did, because I never got to say mine. So I will say,
sorry.
Given this debate and given the flack he's getting, I'm going to give it to Larson, because I feel like he's played pretty much every game since the start of the season. He's already got 7 goals, a couple of assists. Like you say, that second goal against Bristol City, he receives the goal kick from Johnston, and it's his interplay that helps kick off the movement, because he does bring people into the game when he gets to hold it up. And he does a lot of work off the ball as well. There's a couple of other people's goals this season that wouldn't have happened without him dragging defenders out of position. Because again, people don't always look at that stuff. So I'm going to give it to Larson for his the amount of stuff he's already done for us this season.
Yeah, no, a lot of his work definitely goes unnoticed. But with that being said, before we get on to the final few categories, I'd just like to give out a quick reminder that this podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make sure you make us laugh. Sorry guys, I've cut that one up. Make sure you make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club.
Every day.
I needed your help a bit earlier then, guys. Don't know what it's happening again. It's happening again. You know what it is? I'm thinking of my answers. Because the next one I think's this is probably the most difficult one for me. Maybe not, but it's the worst signing.
Yep.
Who do you think has come in and just stunk up the gaff, basically? And you're both eager to go for it. Chris, I'll go for you first, because I feel like you've been last the past few times.
I think there's only one answer, because it's not just about the player, it's about the club and the signing itself, because there's like that whole picture to it. Sam Johnston, worst signing, because of what it's done to the goalkeeping situation and all the confusion, and now it looks like he might go again, and it just hasn't worked. It's like, I don't understand. It wasn't an upgrade. Just no.
10 million down the drain. Nathan, I assume...
agreed with absolutely everything Chris said. Consider that my answer as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll move swiftly on then, shall we? Because I feel like that could be, a whole half an hour rant in itself between the three of us. And we'll move on to what I think is, again, another difficult one, which is, who would you say is the most improved player this year? Nathan, back to you first.
Right. I'm going to go a little bit off-piste of it. Now, most improved player, you tend to go for someone who might be a bit younger, early 20s, something like that, who's sort of trying to find their feet in the Prem and hasn't strung together good performances. But I would actually go with Matt Doherty for this one. My main reason for it is, I think when he came back to the Wolves, in my head, I thought, when I've seen him play at wing back again or at full back in a flat four, I thought his career in the Prem is done. I thought he'll last one season, he'll be off, he's no good enough for the Prem anymore. But since moving into a back three, I think he's been a revelation. I think he's been fantastic. And I can't say that it's something that I saw coming. And I think just for that, I'd say the improvement that he's made in his game to be able to adapt from a wing-back position, which he's pretty much played his entire professional career, to a centre-back position is brilliant. So I'd go for him for that reason.
Yeah, and I think that's fair enough. Chris, would you offer someone different, or do you agree?
That's a great one. I'm going to go for someone different. Going into the question, I was like, there's two possible answers for me for this. And he was not on my list, so there's actually 3 possible answers. Probably that's because I just love Doc anyway. So for me, it's like, I always knew he could do it. Yeah. For me, the two main answers are Santi Bueno, because I feel like it's underestimated how much of a professional he's been the last couple of seasons. In and out the team, never complained once. Played in a back three, a back four, a back five. Like, he's played in so many different combinations. He's played on the right, he's played on the left, he's played in the middle. He's been everywhere. He's been in and out of the team and never complained. He just gets on with it. And now he's getting some stability. And we've seen him move into the middle where he's been comfortable with previous clubs. And, you know, he may not stay there again because things have changed. Like, people are getting fit again. But even so, if like against the Bristol City, Ogbadu is on the left and he's in the middle, then they can form a bit more of a partnership. I just think he's been vastly improved with the consistency, and it's nice to see. But the other choice is Gedge, because you've got to think back 2-3 years ago. This is a man who none of us wanted to see in a Wolves shirt ever again. Many of us were like so angry with him. We're happy to see him gone, and we've been begging for someone to buy him for the last 2 seasons. Manages to come back, shows that he's got something about him. We're seeing the signs of a player that we thought we were signing for, what was it? Something ridiculous? Was it 30 million
40?
or maybe 40? It was a lot.
Maybe I went too high.
I think it was around. Anyway, but the point is, and now we're seeing him actually making runs all the time, creating chances, scoring goals, smiling. Like, like all these things we never thought he could do. So for me, those were the 2 main options. And because of that massive story arc, like almost like a movie character, like cast out, returns from the cold and comes back, I'm giving it to Gedge.
Yeah, that's
I have to say, having listened to that one, I didn't think of Gedge initially, but I'd be happy with that being our main one.
Yeah, can I derail us on that?
Go on.
Because I was actually going to say someone who, maybe I'm just flat out wrong, but I'm actually going to say the most improved player is a player that was already good. But I just think Mateusz Kouni has taken it to a completely new level.
Sure.
This season, I think he's just carried us, to be honest. You know, teams playing Wolves have thought, stop him, stop Wolves, you know? And he's just been that main man, but to a different extreme that I've ever seen him at before, you know. And it's not just the goals and assists, it's, you know, the taking it down from in the air, sort of doing a Cruyff turn as your first touch and in your own half, and, you know, just the way he's gone past people, the way he's taken on all the responsibility. I've seen shouts from people saying that they've never seen someone play that well in a Wolves shirt before. I'm not sure I'd go that far, but he's certainly looked, you know, unbelievable this season.
I think he's also brought that like Brazilian flair back to the Prem, and he's brought it to like a higher level than Brazilians have over the last couple of years in a way. And I've seen it by a few fans that are kind of, I mean, inevitably it's your Arsenals and your Tottenhams and whoever else that think, we need to go and buy him because he's playing unreal. But he just excites you, doesn't he, when he plays? And his first thought when he gets the ball is to try and do something going forwards. He's just got bundles of confidence this season, and as you said, it's been coming off for him.
I think it's a great answer, and I can definitely see what you mean. As a most improved, I get it. I'm sticking with my Gedge answer because I like the whole long-term story arc on that. But I totally get that argument for sure, definitely. And in terms of what you mentioned about those, I hate calling them the big teams, but you know what I mean. Those clubs that you mentioned, the ones that sit at the top more and feel like they should have these players. There is that argument. Yes, he'll go on to something massive, I'm sure, at some point in his career. But there is that thing as well that, you know, in a smaller pond, he's a big fish and he gets to do this stuff. In a bigger pond, he's not necessarily going to stand out the same way because he won't necessarily be the star. He'll be just one of many and have to fight for his opportunities or be mixed in. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't get the free roaming. You won't get to roam like he does at Wolves, where he gets to just do what he wants and kind of dominate.
And we saw that with players like, I mean, we're seeing it with Pedro Neto now at Chelsea, Hotter at Liverpool, you know, players where once upon a time, these guys were carrying Wolves teams. So, yeah, it's a good point.
Sorry, that was just the Brummy in me. That Grealish sprung to my mind there. And speaking of which, I'll now ask for your most underwhelming player of the season. Who's just really not done it for you? I've sort of mentioned mine. It's slightly different to who's the worst, but who's disappointed you the most? And I'm going to say a name that I don't think has been mentioned as such in terms of this wildcard part of the episode. I'm going to get the ball rolling by saying Craig Dawson. I just think he's been a shadow of the player that he has been for us, and it's really annoying because I loved him. I love that type of centre half as well, you know, that's not just sort of old school, but is good at being old school. And you know, I just think it's his sort of dip in form has, you know, come at a time where we needed anything but that. And yeah, it's I don't know, I think it's a shame to see just the sort of gradual decline of who's not just been a great player for us, but has been, you know, a sort of, I'd say, a bit of a Barclaysman, if you like, over the, you know, the past sort of 5-10 years or so. So I think it's just, yeah, it's sad to see in a way, and you know, we didn't want it to happen, but it looks like it is.
What about you, Nathan?
Underwhelming. It's, I don't know, it's a difficult one. It's one that you kind of, for me, it would be Craig Dawson. I would expect his quality and his overall ability to play at the same standard as he did last season to go down this season. So for that reason, I probably wouldn't go for Craig Dawson, just because if there's anyone who I expected their levels to drop going into this season, it would be him. However, and I know this might be really, really harsh, but I'm going to go for a player who's who I just thought was going to kick on a bit, given his kind of status in the squad and the minutes that he had a bit last season and his relationship with O'Neill. I'd go with Tommy Doyle, simply because I think he's at a stage in his career where he needs to kick on. He needs to prove whether or not he is a high-end championship player where he can be really good in the championship, or whether he can do it consistently in the Prem. And I think we've seen flashes of it, but I just expected him this season to take a real, I don't know, get a grasp of it. But he really hasn't nailed down being that guy who's always brought on. And even now we're starting to see games where when we do need a winner or we do need goals, he's not necessarily your first resort to go to in midfield now.
Yeah.
So I think for that reason, I'd go him. It could be really harsh because I do know he's in a battle with, you know, European quality players in there, isn't he? Like Brazilian internationals and people that could easily be playing in Europe, I think. So yeah, difficult one, but I'd go him.
No, that's good. That's good. I think I'm going to narrow. I just love the sound of talking, clearly, because I'm going to give two choices again and then narrow it to one. The one I feel like I can't give it to because I've already given him another award for worst signing is Sam Johnston, because I feel like he is just underwhelming. He's literally a tin of white paint. You know, he's just, because, you know, or vanilla ice cream, whatever it is. You know, he's just
10 million for white paint, Chris.
But you got
10 million for white paint.
Johnston white paint.
I'd pay 10 million for anything vanilla.
But you know what I mean? It's just like, who's your goalkeeper? Oh, it's Sam Johnston. You know, it looks drab, looks boring, sounds boring, is boring, just underwhelming on the team sheet.
You don't like him, do you?
I really don't like him. And I'm Mr. Optimistic, Mr. Nice, and I don't like
You're not a salesman, are you, Chris?
No. But not of this paint, I'm not, no. However, because I've already given him one award, I will veer away, and the other name that I just had in my brain, you've made me all forget by laughing at my other jokes. No, I had it, and it's gone.
No, it's there. It's there. I can see it. Underwhelming.
Oh.
Think of someone that underwhelmed.
Bellegarde.
Yeah.
And I'm going with Bellegarde. I've said it before. Underwhelming in a way that, like, if you've got a clean team sheet, and he's the first one you were to put down for some reason, yeah, I know it wouldn't be, but like, where do you play him? I don't know where he is best. And that's partly on, obviously, previous management or whatever else. Maybe we haven't seen, like, he's been played in every, that's not to his own, like, that's maybe to his detriment. He's been played in every position possible, pretty much, that he can probably play. And we haven't seen him have stability in any one role. That's not helpful to anyone, no matter how good you are. But I just honestly don't know where he's meant to go. And when he does come on, I'm just like, well, what's he doing?
Look, Chris, I don't know what he brings to the party. But speaking of parties, I have some party surprises here. As I ask you for, what was your biggest surprise, or who has been your biggest surprise of the season? I'd like to get the ball rolling again on this one, not to be greedy, but it's just because I'm going to do a quiz and name more than one person. Because they're both people who have already been mentioned, but I was going to put in this category. And that is Guedes, for obvious reasons, just the sheer surprise of... just the sheer surprise of how much of a turnaround we've seen. And the same could be said for Doherty. So instead of putting them in the most improved category, I'm just more surprised. But then, on the flip side of that, I would actually like to put Lamina in this, but for the wrong reasons, because of how much I liked him and how much I thought he was, a real sort of proper player, and I thought he'd be a great captain in the way he carried himself on the pitch, and some of the tackles he'd put in and the work he'd go through, and he played pretty much every position at one point last year, from centre half to centre forward and out on the left wing and all sorts, So just to see how weirdly that's gone, I'd say, yeah, that's my biggest surprise.
It depends on what you get surprised by, isn't it? Like, I get surprised when I see Totti Gomez trap a football and pass it out wide without worrying. Like, I sometimes surprise myself when I'm not worried and he does that. So it depends what surprises you, isn't it? I think for me, I don't know if I just didn't believe in the Andre signing, or I thought we can't possibly have gone and got someone who's of João Gomez's quality again from the Brazilian league. There's no way we're pulling this off again. So I was very pleasantly surprised at how good Andre has been since coming in, and surprised by the fact we've been able to even pull that sort of signing off. So I'd go him, but yeah, subjective this one, isn't it?
I get it. I hear it.
Continuing the trend that Will's just copied. First off, the moment of surprise at one point was when Gary O'Neill said that we didn't have any Premier League experience in the squad, and that was like, what? What are you talking about? What? That was a surprise in itself. And on a bigger note to that, I feel like the ongoing surprise at the moment is that the further we get from Gary O'Neill's reign, the more and more surprised I am how much his tenure is being undermined by the things we are seeing each week, from improvements defensively, improvements like stability wise, improvements, or like the unveiling of Rodrigo Gomez that we all saw in preseason. Everyone saw him in preseason and was like, this guy's great, and then apparently he wasn't ready, and now we're seeing he's great. Just the surprise in that how much we were told that things weren't good and this is the best we could do, and we all felt it. But it seems like the first week, yeah, fine, a little bounce, but the further we get from it, the more and more it feels like he's just being undermined. Does that make sense? Of that constant surprise of, oh, this is good.
You could almost have a category just for Gary O'Neill surprises on its own, or Gary O'Neill underwhelming moments. You need to get like top 10 Gary O'Neill underwhelming moments. Watch mojo.com or something on YouTube.
I fully hear it, and Chris, I fully agree. But that's everything for today's episode, guys. And I'll be honest, I'm struggling to think of ways to conclude a podcast that's covered topics from Italian penises to Jeff Shee's wet hand in the toilet to you getting surprised.
Didn't even come on to Gibbs White and Ann Summers.
Look, that's
I can't believe it.
A story for another day. So yeah, I'm struggling to think of ways to sum that all up. So I'm going to delegate the duties, and Chris,
oh gosh,
I'm gonna give you the honor. Just say the line. Say the line.
Just the line.
Yeah.
Okay. Just remember, everyone. Out of darkness cometh light.
Thank you.
Every club, every day. The the Global Sports Podcast Network.